Hello, my name is George Kappas, and I am the director of the Hypnosis Motivation Institute. If you purchased this DVD or are watching it via streaming video on hypnosis.edu, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's presentation. HMI was founded in 1968 by my father, Dr. John Kappas. We are proud to be America's first nationally accredited college of hypnotherapy. For tonight's presentation, you'll be joining the students of HMI's professional hypnotherapy training. I am grateful for the opportunity to be able to introduce to them and to you a remarkable program developed by my father called Success is Not an Accident, the Mental Bank Program. So thanks for joining us and welcome to HMI.
There's something that happens subconsciously in doing the mental bank that it's beyond logic and reason. It's beyond the use of positive thinking, and it's beyond the use of any conscious need or desire. It's a subconscious mechanism that causes things to happen, causes us to make things happen. It's an energy force that is stronger than anything that we've ever encountered. It's the reason that when prayer works, that's what's happening. When long-range meditation works, and that small percentage of people, that's why it happens. When positive thinking works, in that, again, that small percentage of times that it does work, that is why it works. It works because of the unconscious power and that energy that we have within us. And what we really do is we begin to direct it through the mental bank.
The thing I liked about Mental Bank was that you do it, and you start seeing the results almost immediately.
I'm a healthier mother, I'm a healthier partner in any relationship, and I'm a healthier friend.
What I had originally set out to do was to double my income within a 12-month period, and I achieved it in about 6 months. I actually more than achieved it in 6 months.
Okay, welcome class to our special presentation tonight on Success is Not an Accident, the Mental Bank Program. Okay? And, you know, it's not the mental bank concept. I want to make real clear about that. Dr. Kappas revised his thinking and said, no, it's the Mental Bank Program because it's something that you do. It's not just something you think about. So he was very adamant about that. I'm excited to be able to teach it to you because I think it's, you know, just one of the big items here in our training program that, that are great and that I want to make sure that you learn. And so I have a goal tonight, and that is not only to teach it to you, but to motivate you to want to do it starting tonight. And that's going to be my challenge. How many of you have been to a, one of those motivational seminars? Has everyone seen one or been to one? And here's one of the things that really irks me about those. They start out a certain way, and I like to start out that way as well. So let's try this. So in the audience, let me ask a question. This is the part I hate. How many of you would like to make more money than you do now? Let's just see. Wow, what a surprise. How many of you would like to be happier than you are now? A couple of you just had enough with the happiness. How about more successful? All right. So if I could teach you something, a system, a program, that would take 3 minutes per night, and it would deliver those promises. It would make you more successful, happier, and more prosperous. Would you take that 3 minutes a night and do it?
Yes.
Okay. You know what? You're wrong. You won't. It is a very tough thing to do. And while you say you want to be happier, and you want to be more successful, and you want to be more prosperous, you don't. Because that's the nature of who we are. Okay? And you have to know this both as a therapist and as an individual that wants to change. I'm going to teach you Mental Bank tonight because I want you to use it for you. And if you can make it work for you, then it'll become a powerful source for you to use with your clients in private practice. But you got to make it work for you. And you got to know how tough it is to change. Okay? Because everything about you doesn't want to change. So really what we're talking about, as hypnotherapists, we're subconscious behaviorists, and we're in the business of change, are we not? So you have to know that change is the toughest thing in the world. So I'm going to introduce you to a concept. It's the most powerful force in human behavior. The most powerful force in human behavior. I'll write it on the board, but first I want to know, can anyone tell me what that is? The most powerful force in human behavior. Resistance. Resistance, close. Habit, no. Subconscious, not what I'm looking for. Relief, no. Resistance to change, and there's a word I'm looking for. I was going to give away a big prize to the person who got it. Who said it? Oh, the cameraman in the back. That doesn't count. Homeostasis. Homeostasis is the most powerful force in human behavior. It is the enemy of change. It is everything that you as a subconscious behaviorist are going to have to work against, and you cannot win the battle of change unless you understand the nature of this force. See, how can you fight something you don't know is there? And how can you work against a force that you don't acknowledge? So the first step is to acknowledge that the most powerful force in every cell of your body is homeostasis, and that is the innate drive to stay the same. Notice I didn't say desire. The innate drive to stay the same. And it's on every level. It's at the cellular level. If it gets too hot, what does your body do? Sweat. Do you have to desire to sweat? No. Can you will it to sweat? No, it just happens automatically. And what's the purpose of that? To bring your temperature back to the same. If you get too cold, what do you do? Shiver. Do you have to concentrate on shivering? Do you have to be in the mood to shiver? No, it just happens. It just happens. And it's not just at the physiological level, it's everything about us. See, that as subconscious behaviorists, we believe in this thing called a life script. It's all about subconscious learning. That 88% of our day is spent in automatic behaviors, things we've done so many times that they've become automatic. The way we walk, the way we talk, the way we treat people, the way we think about men, the way we think about women, the way we think about money. It's all about a life script. As you know, is from the earliest of your trainings, there's only two things that the subconscious mind deals with, and what is that? Knowns and unknowns. Knowns are what we've identified and associated with, and unknowns are things that we haven't. And it's not just things outside of ourselves, it's who we are, it's the beliefs that we have. And that's what we're talking about is this idea that as hypnotherapists, as subconscious behaviorists, we're in the business of change. And it is a tough business. And Dr. Kappas, as you know, was in this business himself, and he saw clients, and he was struggling with homeostasis in people. And as a hypnotherapist, how often do you get to see your client? 1 hour of one day of the entire week. So what about the other 23 hours of that day and the other 6 days of that week? And he felt limited by this in trying to work with his clients and help them achieve change. And he really, what he did to create the Mental Bank program was he took everything he knew about subconscious behavior, everything that you've already been taught up to this point in your training. He then took it together and created what we called a recipe. And he said, how can I take there's all these different doors into the subconscious mind, all these different avenues around resistance, and each one of them has a value, but how can I put them together and make them work synergistically and get a greater effect? You know what I mean by synergistically? Mm-hmm. Okay? So he created a recipe for success. Who here has baked a cake? You've baked a cake? And did you bake it? Let's assume you were going to bake it from scratch. I don't know if anyone still does that. But if you were, what would be the ingredients of that?
I guess flour.
Flour. Water. Eggs. Don't help her with her cake. Sugar. Eggs, right? Now let's say that you took all those elements, took a spoonful of flour and a spoonful of water and a little bit of egg, some sugar, right? And you went boom, 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 boom. Would you taste cake? No. Why not? It's all there. Huh? Because the elements have to cook together, right? They have to work together, and then they become something greater than the whole. So he took all of these tools of the subconscious behaviors that you already have, and he put them together, and he tried to figure out, how can I get them to bake? How can I get them to cook together? And he created this process called the mental bank that he designed for his clients to do at home in between appointments. And he created this mental bank program, and it was strictly a little thing he did for his clients. And a couple of his clients, two of them were these very successful gentlemen in this business that you may have heard of. It's called the Amway business. Mm-hmm. And he had these two Amway distributors, along with a lot of other successful clients that he had. But he had these two guys, and he taught them this mental bank, and they loved it. And they saw their businesses soar. And they said, we want to be able to have the same process for everyone who works under us. And they said, but obviously you have only so many hours in the day, and we don't want to pay for all of them to try and do that. And they couldn't if they wanted to. Is there any way you could teach this as a group? And he thought about it, and he said, I think I could. And he created the first mental bank seminar. And I remember being a young man and we had these little velvet books, and we put these little ledgers together. And he created this system. And we went and we taught them the mental bank. And from there, that's how I learned my first mental bank, was to actually just be there and help him put on that seminar and hand out the books and stuff. And that's how long that I've been doing the mental bank. And I can tell you right now that the biggest challenge you're going to have with this is getting yourself to follow through. It's 3 minutes a night. There's nothing hard about it. By the end of tonight, you'll know exactly how to do it. And then you're going to have to stare homeostasis in the face, because it's just going to be basically your decision about whether or not you take those 3 minutes and do something that will change your life. You ever heard of a thing called a transformational weekend? Yeah, we don't believe in that. As subconscious behaviorists, we don't believe in that. And the reason we don't believe in it is because we believe in a thing called steady incremental change. Steady incremental change. And so the mental bank program is not about changing overnight. And it's not about wishful thinking. And it's not even about positive thinking. It's about steady incremental change and delivering a message to the subconscious mind to affect that automatic behavior that you have, this signal that we send out. When we talk about homeostasis, there's good news and there's bad news. Okay? And that is that homeostasis is not necessarily a bad thing. Homeostasis keeps us the same. And it's what makes us human, and it's what gives us personalities, and what allows us to have long-term relationships. I have a friend that was my best friend in 5th and 6th grade. He was the boy next door. We were constantly together. We did all kinds of good things and bad things and had all kinds of fun. And then he moved away, and I moved away. And then at 18 years of age, we got back together, and we shared our first apartment, and did all kinds of good things and bad things, And then again, he moved away, and I moved away. And there's been a lot of years that have passed in between. But if someone was to say to me, who's your best friend in the world? I'd say, oh, it's that guy, And so I only see him about every 10 years. And so I'll occasionally venture out to his neck of the woods, because he just never seems to venture into my neck of the woods. And I'll venture out there, and I'll finally get out to his area, and there'll be that first couple of moments, when I first see him. And I'll look at him, and it's always so shocking, because for some reason he gets older and older, right? It's like bad water out there. I don't know. But I look at him, and there's that shock of, the physical appearance. And then there'll be that first couple of moments, and it'll be very uncomfortable. And I'll have that sort of that hot flash, and I'll think, oh, this was a bad idea. This is a bad idea. I don't even know this person anymore. There's been so much. Our lives are so different for so long. What could we possibly talk about, But after a short period of time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something will happen, and he'll laugh, and I'll see a sparkle in the eye or a flash of the smile, and all of a sudden you recognize that person that you know. And in a couple of hours, it's like no time has gone by. And the bottom line of the story is people don't really change. See, people don't really change. We're kind of set for life with our personalities. And that's homeostasis. And that's a good thing. We're not looking to change that part of it. All we're looking to do is make some small incremental changes that sort of takes us in a slightly different direction, not change our whole personality. And here's kind of where people come from when they're looking at their success level and their happiness level, and especially their prosperity. But what would happen if I went to the store and I got one of these flat screen 60-inch TVs, and I took it home and I set it up, and I get it all ready, and I get on the couch and I turn it on and I watch a sitcom for half an hour. And I just watch it and I watch it and I watch it, and I never laugh. And I turn it off, and then I take the TV and I box it back up, and I go back to the store and I tell them I want my money back. And they go, why? Is there something wrong with the TV? And go, yes, it isn't funny. What's he going to say? There's nothing wrong with the television. That's not the television's fault. You need to change the programming that you're watching. Okay? And that's the most important factor. And the first step is understanding that you're not broken. And I think all of us, I know I for sure have had the experience of feeling broken at times. You know, especially here in Los Angeles. It's really easy. You'll be at a stoplight and someone will pull up in a brand new paper plate $250,000 car. Right? And they'll pull up right next to you and you'll look over and it'll be some guy who's 15 years younger than you are, right? And for that moment you go, you're driving your little piece of crap, you know, and you go, what's wrong with me? What is wrong with me? You know? How does that happen? What am I doing wrong? What am I missing here? Hmm? Or here's another one in Los Angeles you've got to be careful of. You venture off into a neighborhood and you'll see houses that are worth $5 to $10 million more than your house. Not just $5 to $10 million, $5 to $10 million more. And again, you don't have that sinking feeling. I don't know if you have it, but I do. What's wrong with me? How come I'm not where they are? How did they do this? What do they know that I don't know? What's their secret? How come I keep missing it? You know? And the reality of that is that there isn't anything wrong with any of us. You know? And there is no secret per se. You know? It's definitely not about working harder. Do you know that the hardest working people in America are the poorest people in America?
Right.
It's not about being smarter. There's some real dumbasses out there with money. Right? We see them on TV all the time. Right? And it's not about being nice. There's some rich pricks. Right? So what is it? You know, and that's what Dr. Kappa spent his entire career trying to figure out. You know how torturous it was to be Dr. Kappa? He had rock stars, astronauts, you know, multi-millionaires, and he himself, you know, was struggling to make his money. People were worth 10 to 100 times more than him, and he's helping them be more successful. And I'm sure there was many a moment where he thought, you know, after they thank him, thanks to you, I made an extra $1 million this week, you know, and he's thinking, what the hell's wrong with me, right? I just got paid $125 to help make this guy make an extra $1 million, you know? And that burned him, and it worked on him, and he was driven to find out what is the difference in the subconscious mind that allows someone to be so successful and someone else not, when working hard and being smart and being nice has nothing to do with it. And it's all about this. It's about this idea, and it's the first ingredient in the mental bank. And I'm going to write it on the board. And there's these ingredients, his recipe for success, that we call the mental bank. And let's write that there. First recipe for success is the pen that works. Yeah. The recipe for success. So the first thing is you must come to believe. And what that means is you must come to believe in the power of your subconscious mind. You must come to believe that the subconscious mind is a goal machine, that it always achieves everything it's programmed for. That as you sit here tonight, and as I sit here tonight, none of us are broken. We are all functioning 100% perfectly, and we are achieving exactly what we are programmed to achieve. And that's both good news and bad news. The good news is that your subconscious works perfectly, and if you can change that programming, then it'll achieve that. It's achieved this, and if it gets a slightly different signal, it'll achieve that, and if it gets another signal, it'll achieve that. It achieves everything that it receives from your subconscious. It acts out. That 88% of your day you're engaged in this autopilot, taking you in a direction you're not even aware of, and the subconscious is driving that boat. That's the good news. The bad news? It means you're also responsible for your trauma, for your unlucky events, for the unfortunate things, for the bad luck. See, we create all of it. We create the good news, we create the bad news, and the first step, you can't do anything until you acknowledge that, until you own that it's a signal that comes out of you. That the subconscious mind is a generator, and it sends a signal. And the universe we live in, especially where we live, there's no limit to what can be achieved. Just look around. There's no limit to what a life can have. But we are sending a signal, and that signal delivers us exactly what we ask for. And what we need to do is learn how to change that signal. And what's stopping us from changing that signal? Homeostasis, the innate drive to stay the same. And what Dr. Kappas created in this recipe for success is he took these elements, which you as hypnotherapists in training already know, and put them together in a new and unique way that only takes 2 to 3 minutes per night. And your job, your challenge is going to be to overcome homeostasis just for 2 to 3 minutes a night to make it work for you. And that's going to be a real challenge. It's going to be just a challenge for you to start tonight. I'm going to explain to you how it works. I'm going to show you how easy it is. But you will be completely alone when that moment comes in your decision to start tonight and to make it work for you and to do it every single day. Okay? Because change happens incrementally. You're not going to overcome homeostasis in one day, in one weekend, in one session. It happens slowly and gradually because that's how your personality was developed, slowly and gradually. Not as long as you think. It's certainly not going to take you another 40 years to make the change that you've gotten to up to this point, but you do have to allow a little time, which brings us to our next ingredient in the recipe for success, and that is daily reinforcement. Daily reinforcement. When does life happen? Every day. Every day you receive signals that play out your subconscious programming, but you also receive information that tells you what's going to happen the next day. In other words, programming doesn't stop when we're 12 years of age. Yes, the majority of your life script occurs, between birth and 12 years of age. All that you are, all that you learn, your whole success level, your whole happiness level, your whole relationship pattern, all of that is programmed into your subconscious, but it doesn't stop there. And every day, it reconfirms that programming. And so if you're going to battle that everyday information, meaning that every day that you wake up in your income level, it confirms its belief about you. It becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Every day you wake up in your relationship, it confirms your happiness level. Every day you go to your job and you receive your paycheck, and you deposit it in your account and you look at your balance. All of that is more information that affirms where you are. So if we're going to battle this, we need something that's going to challenge that information on a daily basis. And we're going to slowly and gradually deliver different information to the subconscious mind. Slowly and gradually. So I want you to think of your programming as like a bucket of water. And that bucket of water is everything about you. Okay? And what we're going to do is drop one pebble in a day. Now you drop one pebble into that bucket. Is the water gone?
No.
No. Not even a noticeable change. And you drop another pebble in, nothing. Another pebble, nothing. Another pebble, nothing. But if you just keep dropping that pebble into the bucket, one day, you're never going to know when it happened. You're never going to feel it happen. You're never going to see it happen. One day you're going to look back, and there's going to be no water in the bucket, just pebbles. And that's the way real change occurs. And that's the way the mental bank works. You don't have to believe in this every day. You don't have to go there and say, I know it's working, and this is great, I'm doing it. No, you just have to come to believe that this is how the mind works. This is what the subconscious mind is. And that you're just going to drop that pebble in the bucket on a daily basis, no matter what. It's 2 minutes out of your life. If it doesn't work, what have you lost? But if it does work, then what? See? So it's important that you remember just to drop the pebble in. Now, it's not going to be easy. Right? No one says this is an easy program to do. Just because it takes 2 minutes, just because it's simple to do. Homeostasis is always present. It's going to resist you every single way, every single step of the way. And just a couple of tips on how to avoid just resistance to doing this every day. One, have an extra ledger at all times that's blank and ready to go. Because if you wait to get to the last page and you run out and you have to order another one, or you have to go down to the school and get another one, it's going to be a year and a half before you do mental bank again. And I'm telling you from personal experience. Always have an extra ledger. Dedicate a pen to that ledger that clips right on and that never leaves the ledger. If you have to go looking for the pen during that critical moment, you won't be doing the mental bank that night. Okay? I have a pen dedicated to my ledger at home, and I tell everyone in our household, the pen never leaves the ledger. I don't care if the house is burning down, you need to write down the phone number of the fire department, go find another pen. Okay? That pen must stay with the ledger. The other thing is, we're going to tell you, keep the ledger at your bed. Ideally on your pillow, where you pull back the covers and before you can lay your little head down, you got to move the ledger. Okay? Because it's going to be fighting you. Any excuse that homeostasis can get to avoid change. Okay? And my last one is don't lie down in the bed, or be very careful about that. And don't get prone in the bed before you do your mental bank. As soon as I'm prone in the bed, there's only one of two things going to happen. Neither one is mental bank. Okay? So I like to do the mental bank and then, do that. And these are just, and knowing that and setting those things up is acknowledging how powerful homeostasis is. Okay? How powerful it is. Let me give you some personal examples. One is, so I'm learning mental bank and at these Amway seminars, and I'm all excited, and I'm just helping out and hearing all this stuff and putting together ledgers. And so I start doing the mental bank, and at the time I'm making about $18,000 a year. I think I'm doing quite well, actually. And so we had different rules, and he was just sort of setting the guidelines, which we now have really narrowed in and tightened up. But at that time, you could set any goal you wanted, and we'll talk about this in the second hour. I set a goal of $200,000. And so I'm doing the mental bank, and I'm doing my goal of $200,000. And I meet a young lady, and we hit it off real well. And she's a couple of years older than I was, not much, but she had been married before and had some property. And I'm living in my El Camino, And so I move in with her. and I'm living this lifestyle, and because of that, you know, like her husband, ex-husband, would call, and I would answer the phone sometimes. So I'm living there, and he sort of didn't like that, so he told her, you know, we need to dissolve, you know, what property we have, and so he dissolves all this property. But by the time all that happens, her and I have a joint checking account, and we're living together, and that money, that a check for a little over $200,000 came and got deposited in our account. Okay? But that's not even the story. The story is that we get a little bigger house and a couple of dogs and, you know, really nothing. We didn't go to Europe. We didn't spend any real money, or I can remember. We just living life, and a couple of years later, I'm in charge of the bills, and I'm paying the bills, and I'm stressing, right? And I'm stressing over paying some of these bills, and I realize that every dime of that $200,000 is gone. I can't tell you where it went. A couple of things, but overall, it just melted. And I'm feeling bad about that. And I'm feeling responsible about that. And I'm feeling motivated about that. And now, God darn it, I'm going to get busy, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I'm thinking of ways that I could get that money back and earn that money back. And of course, one of the things on my list was start doing my mental bank again. So I decided I'm going to start doing my mental bank, and that night I said, I'm not going to procrastinate, I'm going to do it tonight, and I'm going to start looking for a ledger, right? And I go and I'm looking for a ledger, and I find a ledger, a used ledger, and I go to find the empty page, and I find an empty page, and I turn back one page to see, well, how long ago did I leave off? The last entry in that ledger was me depositing that $200,000 check. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even realize that I had stopped doing the mental bank after that. And that I started doing the mental bank when it was gone. And the thing about homeostasis is to recognize that that's the pattern that we have. That we have this pattern, let's see if it's going to work here, have this pattern where we have an overhead resistance. We have a ceiling to our script, and we have a floor to our script. Meaning there's good news and there's bad news about this homeostasis thing. Okay? It'll only allow us to go so high, and we start getting into the unknown territory of our subconscious mind. If we start getting too prosperous, too unsuccessful, then we hit that thing. I'm sorry, if we get too successful or too prosperous, we hit that ceiling, and then we resist. We engage in silent, subconscious sabotages that, without our awareness, causes us to lose some of that success and bring us back down into the known area, the comfort zone. But if we go too low, here's the good part of it, if we go too low, we get motivated, anxious, we start taking actions, and we start doing things that cause our success level to rise up and bring us back into the known area. And that we sort of teeter between the ceiling and the floor, getting resistant, and we don't know we're resistant, getting resistant, sabotaging at the top, getting anxious and motivated, and going into action at the bottom. Up and down and up and down. Each of us has a different ceiling, and each of us has a different floor. In other words, some of us will go lower than others. How low will you go? Right? What's your bottom before you get motivated? For some people, it's homelessness before they get motivated. For other people, it's, their platinum card gets threatened, right? Or they're something like that. They're not able to keep up with some of the people that in their lifestyle or in their neighborhood. Whatever that low is, all of us are different. None of us are broken. And what we want to do is learn how to take the steps that start delivering a different signal to the universe. We have to just put in the right programming. Don't blame the TV. Just put in the right programming to start sending a different signal and start letting stuff happen. And knowing, because we came to believe, that if you send a different signal, you'll get a different result. And the first step is to do that every single day. Now, if we're going to send a signal to our subconscious mind, it needs to be in a language that the subconscious mind can understand. That's one of the things that you, of course, learn in the very basic training is you have to talk to the subconscious mind in a language it understands. And each of us uses language slightly differently, and the whole thing about being a hypnotherapist is to test suggestibility and find out how each person uses language differently. And so Dr. Kappas chose a symbolic language to communicate to the subconscious mind, because he was all about hypnotic suggestibility and catering the language. And he chose basically two forms of a symbolic language that he felt was the best to communicate to the subconscious mind about success. And one was the dollar sign, and the other one was numbers, digital numbers. He felt that in our culture, the dollar sign was a symbol of success and prosperity, and that numbers were, that the subconscious was very digital, that it used numbers to measure things. It clearly understands that 4 is more than 2, and that 8 is more than 4. And that 10 is more than 5. And it just really has that relationship with numbers. So he created a symbolic language, and that was part of it. But he needs to deliver that symbolic language, meaning how do we get past the barriers of the subconscious mind? Now, as a hypnotist, of course, we do things a little differently. We have people come into a room, and we use our language to overwhelm them and create this mild neurological brainstorm that we call the hypnotic state, and we create this hypersuggestibility, and then we deliver the suggestions during that window of opportunity. Well, on this, we need the people to be able to deliver that message themselves, and so one of the things he did was he tapped into a back door to the subconscious mind that you all know of, and that's ideomotor response. Guys know ideomotor response? Ideomotor response is that those automatic behaviors that you do and those automatic processes, and it can be related to the pendulum and a variety of ideomotor responses, but he chose one. He chose handwriting as the ideomotor response that will deliver this symbolic language and on a daily basis, because we've come to believe that if you change the signal, you change the result. Okay? So that's what the Mental Bank about, is delivering this symbolic language. And of course, a hypnotist didn't invent the hypnotic state. Hypnosis is a naturally occurring process. All of us experience every single day. The hypnotherapist is just trained to trigger this natural reflex. Just like a doctor is trained to trigger the reflex on your knee, he doesn't create the reflex. He just knows where it is and learns how to tap it. You tap it and boom, it happens. Okay? Well, that's what a hypnotist does. He knows that hypnosis is a naturally occurring state. And Dr. Kappas knew that as well. And so he tapped into the naturally occurring state of hypnosis, and he called it the magic 30 minutes. The magic 30 minutes is the magic 30 minutes before you go to sleep at night. And that he wants you to do your mental bank during that 30 minutes. And just do it any time before that 30 minutes. You don't have to wait till those final moments before you go to sleep. In fact, we don't recommend waiting those final moments, because there's a good chance you won't do it if you wait till those final moments. So do it within the magic 30 minutes. And during that 30 minutes, you're going to use longhand, handwriting analysis, which taps into ideomotor response. And you're going to use this ideomotor response to deliver this symbolic message to your subconscious on a daily basis. Because we've come to believe that if you change the signal that you send to the universe, then the universe sends you something different than you've got now. That you're not broken, that it's delivering exactly what you're asking for. We're just going to get it to ask for something a little different. Now, handwriting analysis, have you ever tried to copy someone's handwriting? I know in the 7th grade I made it my goal to copy my mother's handwriting for various purposes. But it's very difficult. You can do a short note, or you can do a signature. I definitely had that one down, right? But you can't do like a page or 2 pages or a whole letter. It's impossible to do it well. Because you can't control those fine motor movements. That experts can tell a forgery on handwriting. Do even when you write a check, you write them out for 100 with numbers, and then let's say you write 200 in longhand. Which is the legal tender? The 200. See, there's something so personal about handwriting, and that's why as our training we include in your requirements handwriting analysis, which I understand most of you have completed. But handwriting analysis, because you can't stop the personality from coming out in the handwriting, from revealing itself. It's part of our subconscious behavior. But personality doesn't just come out of handwriting, it also goes in. So we're going to take the most suggestible time of the day, when your resistance is the lowest, when you're most receptive to new ideas, when you can resist them, when homeostasis is the weakest, is the best way to put it, and we're going to deliver through this very personal ideomotor response a symbolic message to your subconscious on a daily basis, because we've just come to believe that if you change the signal, then you're going to change the outcome. And we have a goal, and that is that we want to use this magic 30 minutes to take this signal, and we want to drop it in, and we want it to go in and get into our precognitive dreams. Precognitive dreams is the sixth element. Their whole goal is to take all of this message and drop it into your precognitive dreams on a daily basis. Because as hypnotherapists, there's a secret that we don't always share. And that secret is that the majority of change that takes place in the hypnotherapy session doesn't happen in our office. We create the suggestible state, we get past critical area mind and deliver the suggestive idea, the belief, the feeling, and it creates a movement. But the bigger thing that happens, it happens 2 days later, 3 days later, 4 days later, while they're asleep. Because that information and that experience and those feelings then drop into and get dealt with in their precognitive dreams. Because your life is attempting to predict your future on a daily basis. Your mind hates unknowns. The subconscious mind hates unknowns so bad, it would rather lie to you than say, I don't know. That's what it would do. It'd rather lie to you. It just can't accept it at all. It has to know, and it bases all of its beliefs about where you're going to be on your past. If you're trying to guess what someone's going to do, what's the best measurement? What they've done. And that's what your subconscious is trying to say. Where are you going to be? See, it's not just tomorrow. It's where are you going to be tomorrow? Where are you going to be 6 months from now? Where are you going to be a year from now? It's looking at this life and it's creating this picture. Because you know what? 88% of the time you're so busy, distracted, hungry, tired, or otherwise engaged that it has to know what direction to go while you're incapacitated. And it lets that autopilot take over and move in that direction. And I don't know if you've ever been on a boat with autopilot, but if they start to drift off, what does it do? It corrects you and puts you back. And then you drift a little this way, and it corrects you. See, life is like a ship. It doesn't go in a straight line. You're always getting pushed this way and that way. But if you get pushed too far off what it believes to be your course, it's going to bring you back. Every time. Bring you back. So you think, oh, no, my life has a lot of ups and downs. But if you look at those ups and downs, they're all within a certain range generally. And that there's a certain segment of our population called the somnambulists. And that 5% that are just so suggestible that they can go out of that range or below that range. But 95% of us don't fall in that somnambulist category. And we always stay within that comfort zone. And you have to really come to understand that you're living in that zone right now. And that there are forces from long ago that you've long forgotten about that keep you there. A few years back when my mother was very ill, I was spending a lot of time at her house. My stepfather and I would take shifts being with her and watching her. And there was a lot of time where she was just asleep. And so we would take breaks. He would take a break, I would take a break. And so I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was at her house, a house that I used to live in as well. And that house wasn't that far away from our old neighborhood. And so I'm out there, and I'm with my son, and we had some downtime, and we just needed to get out and walk around or whatever. So I get in the car, and I said, come on, I'm going to take you, tell my son, I'm going to take you down to our old neighborhood. And so I take them down in the old neighborhood, and you know, it was a little shocking to me, because you have this perception when you're a kid about what something is, and then you go back, and I was a little shocked at the way it was, you know. And I remember, you know, getting there about 8 years of age, 8 and a half or so, and I remember my mother was newly divorced. She was new to the workplace, and we were looking for what she was going to be able to afford. And I remember that we went there, and that the rent was going to be $125 a month. And normally they were $150 a month. But my mother talked to the manager, and she had one unit that was backed up to the laundry room. So the vents actually vented into our front little area there, like the front of our house. And she gave her a break in there, $125 a month. And I remember after my mother passed, I was going through her stuff, and I found she had every check she had ever written in little boxes, all labeled, perfectly ordered, right? And I had to look, and I look, and sure enough, there's that first check, right? With the little paisley design on the checks, you know, 1969. And there was that $125 mark. And I remember her sweating that out. You know, how are we ever going to afford that? And I remember that there was a thing she invented called Shakey's Night. Right? And Shakey's was kind of a new phenomenon. It was a pizza parlor where you didn't have a reservation, you didn't sit at a table. There's long tables. Everyone sat on these long tables, and there was a playerless piano pounding away, and it was loud and noisy, and everyone's running around. And we would go there, and you would just walk in. You didn't have a reservation, just mingled in. And when she didn't have enough money for us to eat, she would say, "It's Shakey's Night." And I'd get all excited about Shakey's Night, and we'd go to Shakey's, and we would just mingle in the crowd and find ourselves a seat on the bench, and we'd just wait for people to leave. And as soon as they got up, we went and sat at their place, and a lot of times there was a pizza piece or two still there. And we would eat it up, and then we'd wait for someone else to leave, and we'd go sit at their place, and then their place, and then their place. And then the big thing about that is you got to eat all different kinds of pizza. And I just love Shakey's Night. I sometimes tell my mom, "Is it Shakey's Night?" And she'd say, "Not yet." But I think it's coming, you know. And boy, Shakey's Night would come. And at the time, I thought nothing ill of it. It was the greatest time, and I loved Shakey's Night. And she never let on that we were in trouble. But we were. And as I drove him through there, you know, our experience as a family today is so much different than my experience. In other words, his experience as a kid that age is so much different than what I went through at that age and where we were as a family. And, you know, I realized that when that $250,000 car pulls up next to me, or that $10 million house, you know, just seems so impossible, that's why. That's why it seems so impossible, that I'm still there. And it wasn't a bad time. It was the best time of my life. But there was some learning taking place there, you know. And then I look at my father and his wife, Florence Henderson, and they're 18 years together, and both very successful people. And, you know, I watched them work. I watched how hard they worked. And both of them, you know, much older than myself, worked twice as hard as I ever did in my life, or probably ever will. They would fly, they would be gone for, you know, a month, they'd be home one day. They'd have a team that unpacked them, repacked them, and they'd be off again. And they would just be working this place and 12 hours here and 15 hours there, and up at 4 and on the plane and here and there. And I remember telling my father, as he got older, I said, "Dad, when are you going to stop?" You know, because I go, "Well, how long are you in town for?" "1 day." You know, "1 day, you know, aren't you tired?" "Oh, yes, we're exhausted." I said, "Well, then why are you doing this? You guys don't need the money." He said, "Are you kidding? They're paying us $750,000 for 1 day in Canada. We can't pass that up." And you got to look at where they came from. Florence was the youngest of 10. She grew up with a dirt floor. They had so many kids, and her father had a drinking problem. He couldn't remember who she was. He couldn't remember her name. And my father was the son of immigrant parents in Chicago in the Depression. There was plenty of time when it wasn't what we were going to eat, if we were going to eat. And you know what? I don't think you ever shake that. I think that gets into you, and it's there for life. It's part of that script. And even if you achieve success, for them it was to overcome the fear of not having, the fear of being without was so great that they worked so hard to achieve just such an overcompensation of success that, and you just can't turn that off. You know? And that's what, you know, this whole thing about change is. Behavior is lifelong. Your personality is lifelong. And so many of us look for quick fixes. So many of your clients are going to come to you and say, fix me now, and do it now, and make it happen. And while you can change the way they feel today, and you can change, you know, their public speaking and their confidence and their sports performance and pain control, and all of that can be immediate, stuff like their life script, stuff about their income, their happiness, their success, their prosperity, all of that takes more time. And, you know, 1 hour a week is not going to override their life. We need to give them something that happens ongoing, forever. And that mental bank is not about wishful thinking. It's really an ingenious program that mixes fantasy and reality, that sends a different signal, that every night, everything that happens to you piles up in a big pile. You know, we take in so much information a day, we have no concept of how much information we take into and how little of it we actually deal with at the time. You guys ever, we done that experiment together about how little information we retain? What percentage of information in a day do you think you actually process and deal with and retain? 7%? Let's do an experiment, see, okay? Here we go. You're going to do it, I'm going to do it. My role is bigger than yours. Yeah? Let me get ready. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to look at each of you right now. Okay? Covering my eyes, can I name off what everybody in this room is wearing? Can't do it, can I? Didn't I just look moments ago?
Yeah.
Why can't I do it?
You weren't able to process it.
More information than I can handle. Where does all the extra information go? All the stuff we don't handle on a daily basis. It piles up and it piles up and it piles up till we just can't take any more, and then we shut down for 6 or 8 hours and we call it sleep. And halfway through the night, as you learned in your dream therapy classes, the mind takes all that information and starts looking at it and putting it in its proper place and trying to predict what's going to happen tomorrow. And we call that the precognitive stage of dreams, that middle stage of REM activity in the night. And that middle stage, and all of that piles up. And what we want to do is we want to add to the pile. We want to take what life's telling your subconscious on a daily basis. Every day your life tells you who you are, what you're worth, what you can expect, what your value is, how happy you're going to be. It just looks at your life and it reaffirms what it already believes. It strengthens its conviction. We want to mix into that signal. We want to be a participant in that. We want to add to that some different things. We want to challenge what life is telling your subconscious mind. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the real signal, and we're going to mix in this mental bank information. And it's all going to go into the same pile because we're going to use these synergistic steps to get it in there, to get it past your barriers, your defenses. And we're going to put it in there, and it's going to be mixed in the pile. And slowly but surely, the real information is going to mix with the mental bank information, and it just changes the picture. You never erased your past. You can't undo your history. But you can feed in new information about your life today that slowly changes that signal, that causes it to start to expect. How many of you are depositing thousands of dollars into your bank account on a daily basis today? No. But what if you were? What would your mind start to think? If you received $10,000 on your doorstep a week, every week, no matter what, rain or shine or snow, and it happened week after week after week after week, would you worry about money? Because you know more is coming. See, when you come to believe that more is coming, then more comes. And what we want to do is get our minds to accept that. Make those figures, that success unknown. Make happiness unknown. Change from being an unknown, something to avoid, something to move away from. And slowly but gradually raise that ceiling so that you can move higher without sabotaging. And that's what the mental bank will do. And there's going to be times when you don't feel like doing it. And you're going to have to do it anyway. Just drop the pebble in the bucket. You know, drop that pebble in. You know, it really helps when your partner does mental bank too. And you get into bed and just one of those nights and you're just feeling that resistance and I'm not going to do it tonight, you know. And then your partner pulls out their mental bank and they start doing it all smug like, you know. Oh, I hate her for that. Right? Because I know she's right. You know, I know it's so easy to do. It really only takes 2 minutes, but I don't want to do it. You know? And I'll sit there and I'll have this battle with myself. Say, I don't want to do it. Just not tonight. It won't make a difference. And then I really have to have this conversation with homeostasis. I have to say, you know what? Success is optional. It's voluntary. No one says I have to be successful. It's only me that wants that. And it's okay if I don't want it. Because if I don't want it, all I got to do is not make the change, not drop the pebble in. I have the right to stay the same. But if I choose not to drop the pebble in, then I give up something, and that's the right to whine about it. See, do you whine? Do you ever whine to yourself about not having more, not being happy, or not having more money, and you know, I'm not willing to give up that right. I enjoy that whining too much. And I know that all I got to do is drop that pebble in, and I get to whine all I want, because as long as you drop the pebble in, I don't care what. It's just a matter of time before you look back and there's no water in the bucket. Happens every time. And when you reach that goal, then you stop and you set your next goal. And you don't have to believe it on a daily basis. You just have to believe in it overall, that that's how the subconscious mind works. It always achieves what it's programming for. What it's programmed to achieve, it will. Change that programming slowly and gradually, and before you know it, you'll look back, and a year later, you're going to be in a totally different place. And you're going to say, how did that happen? I guess it was luck. Couldn't have been anything else. But if you keep doing it, you're going to be in a different place next time as well, and next time, and next time. And I'm telling you this from my personal experience. For 38 years, we've seen over 250,000 clients. We learned a little something about subconscious behavior. Okay? You're not the first persons first students to learn this. You need to make it work for you before you're going to turn around and make it work for anybody else. And the challenge is going to come in the next 15 minutes when we take a break. You're going to have to decide, do I get my ledger now and start tonight? Or should I wait another day? And by the way, you don't have to have a ledger. You can use just plain paper. If your script says, I can't afford a ledger, that's okay. I understand. You're right. But the ledger does make it very easy. If you want to go ahead and get the book as well, we recommend both the book and the ledger. But at the very least, I want you to start tonight. And the next hour, you're going to get that ledger. And as long as it takes for everyone in this room to accomplish that goal, to overcome homeostasis and just beat it, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to use that ledger. And tonight, I want you to start. And 1 year from now, I want to hear the different place that you're in.
Yeah.
All right? All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. Good luck to you.
A common question asked of me is, how did I create the mental bank? The obvious answer is through years of research, through years of mistakes, and to years of trying out different mechanisms that in the past did not work. I tried positive thinking. I tried sleep teaching. I've tried using power words on tapes, and I would make thousands of tapes for different people so that I can consciously affect some unconscious motivation or process. And in most cases it worked with a few of them, but the majority, it was failure. Short range, had no effect. I tried hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy worked. I couldn't obviously hypnotize everybody, so I had to go back to the drawing board. So I start picking natural mechanisms that affect the human being. These mechanisms, we entered into a formula that we call a synergistic approach now, and combining all these mechanisms together, we found that the human being enters this filtering process, enters the subconscious mind just as easily as if he was using hypnosis. The difference is it's without the use of hypnosis. It's doing it themselves. And in turn, I put it together, and after many years of searching it out, we came out with this synergistic mechanism that we called the mental bank process.
I spent half my adult life in traction before, and I believed that I thought and lived like a disabled person, and I was only as disabled as I was in my head. And today I am not disabled, and I'm 56 years old. And I'm younger at 56 than I was at 30.
I was scripted to only make so much money, and I didn't realize it. You know, when I was a kid, my dad made like between $20,000 and $25,000 a year. And I thought to myself, God, when I get to be an adult, if I can make $25,000 a year, I'd be great. So about that time, that's about all I was making. The only problem is at that time, $25,000 really wasn't buying you that much. Started doing the mental bank, and the next year my income doubled. I bought this house. I was able to restore this 1957 Harley Davidson. With the help of the mental bank, I feel that there's nothing I can't do. I mean, I can do anything that I want to do. There's just nothing that I can't accomplish.
Okay, welcome back from our break. I trust that many of you have managed to struggle through your resistance and overcome homeostasis to now possess one of these little gems. Was there anyone who just couldn't make it through that struggle? Just really battled. Didn't make it? No? All right, pass this back to that woman in the back. Just hand it back to her, just to let her know, all the way back. There you go. All right, so let's do this. Let's learn how to use this, meaning we have those 6 synergistic elements, the recipe for success. What the ledger does is it puts it together for you in a 2-minute process. Again, you can do this just on plain paper. The ledger just makes it a lot easier, okay? And we encourage you to do so. So let's start. If you open your ledger to the first page, it says Getting Started on the top, and that's what we have up here on the board. This page right here just says Getting Started. Everybody there? And it says, congratulations on the start of your mental bank. So congratulations to you. These instructions are designed to supplement the text, Success is not an accident. Now you know you're really struggling through resistance when you buy the book as well. How many people got the book as well? Congratulations to you. So this ledger is designed to supplement the text Success is Not an Accident by Dr. John Kappas. The first step to write your mental bank contract is to arrive at your yearly income goal. Okay? What the mental bank ledger does is it puts you in business. You're going to pay yourself to achieve your goal. That's what you're going to do. You're going to be both the employer and the employee. You got to pay that employee enough to be motivated, but don't pay him for stuff that doesn't actually get anything done. Okay? It's really a balancing act. So you're going to set a mental bank goal. Now we're going to start out, by the way, this is a very simple process, and you can make it real complicated just if you want to. But let's try not to do that. It's very easy, and let's start out talking about, let's say, a financial prosperity goal. Just for argument's sake, this can be applied to so many different things, including relationships and weight loss and all kinds of goals. But just to learn it, let's start out talking about a financial prosperity goal, which is the majority what people use it for. The first step is to write your mental bank contract to arrive at your yearly income goal. We call this your mental bank goal. Okay, so you're going to set a goal, and that mental bank goal should be double or 2 times your current annual reality income. Okay, so we're going to introduce 2 definitions, 2 words: mental bank goal and reality income. Your reality income is what you earn now. Your mental bank goal is double that, what you want to earn. Everyone clear on that? Yes. Reality income is what you earn now, and your mental bank goal is 2 times that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to arrive at your mental bank goal. Now, on the page next to it, it says my new mental script contract. Right next to that, there's going to be blank spots. This is just a sample for you to write in today. You'll rewrite this tonight when you actually start. So you're going to write in that stuff, and it just says I. Let me just put that page up real quick. It says I, right here. You put your name. Agree on this 27th day of March 2006 to rewrite my mental bank script to arrive at a yearly income of. Right there in that blank spot, you're going to write your mental bank goal, which is 2 times your reality income. So I need everybody, if you will, to write down your mental bank goal 2 times your reality income in that little blank spot, just so you have a figure to work with. Without that figure, we can't proceed. Now, some people have a real easy thing. They have an income. They file an IRS tax return. They look at that and they see what they have an idea what their annual income is. Do we have anyone who has an idea? Do we have anyone who files an IRS tax return? Let's start right there. Quick, get them on camera. The ones that don't have their hand raised. And for those people, it's real easy. You take that figure and double it. Now, for some people, it's a little more difficult, right? They say, I don't have any income. But that's not true. And you'll have clients tell you that that's not true. There isn't anyone in this room who doesn't have an annual income. And remember, the mental bank is not about deserving it. If that was the case, I wouldn't be here tonight. Okay? You don't get what you deserve, you get what you ask for. Okay? And so every one of us has a lifestyle. I know when I was teaching my son the mental bank, he said, I don't have any income. I said, the hell you don't. Okay, and we added up what his income was. We took, 1/3 of our house, 1/3 of what it would cost, like the mortgage, 1/3 of that. Then we took the cost of his private school. Then we took like the clothing allowance that we spend on him, and then the weekly allowance, and then we took, the amount of food that he eats. We realized he makes more money than I do. So all of us have a lifestyle. Now, let's say that you're married and your partner works and you don't. Whatever that is, that income, that you just cut it in half, that's your income. Okay? We all are living, we all are receiving stuff. It doesn't mean it comes to you in the form of a paycheck. You are receiving, meaning when the mental bank works, it doesn't mean you got a new job and you earn more money. It just means you're receiving more stuff from a variety of sources. It doesn't matter how the income comes to you. You're all receiving income. And you need to really in other words, you can't move up if you don't know where you are. You got to know where you're starting from before you can take your first step forward. So if you would, I just want you to take a moment and I want you to figure out approximately what your annual income is. Because that's going to be the first step in moving up. And a lot of it's surprising how many people actually don't know. I know I was, part of this process has taught me to look at my income, and now I'm at the point where I have to ask my CPA to calculate it for me, because I receive stuff from so many different sources that I don't really know what it is till someone helps me to know what it is. And I include all the things I received, including car allowances and food allowances and all that stuff that's paid, insurances. All of that is income to me. And you have to really acknowledge it before you can, and know where you're at before you can move up. So any questions on that?
So you say the gross income in here.
Gross income, if that's one way to do it.
Wow.
That's your starting point, and then you're going to double that for your mental bank goal. Questions? Do you guys, everyone have a mental bank goal? Everyone knows 2 times their current reality income. 2 times. Only 2 times. And the reason is, when we first started, we had unlimited. And then we said, well, 2 to 4 times in the book. Well, we really have been narrowing it down so that we feel that 2 times creates the least amount of resistance. You get more than that and your mind starts rejecting that number and it's just too outside your ceiling. When you get to that, you can always double it again. So it's not like it's limiting in any way. Just double wherever you're at right now. So everyone's with me? Everyone has a mental bank goal. Yes. We call this your mental bank goal. Your mental bank goal should be double or 2 times your current annual reality income. You arrive at this mental bank goal by paying yourself an hourly rate for value events. We'll discuss what those are. See the chart below for determining your mental bank goal, your hourly rate, and your value events. So let's take a sample goal. Let's say that your mental bank goal is $100,000. What would your reality income be if that was the case? 50. See, I'm testing you. So if your mental bank goal is $100,000, your hourly rate is going to be $100. Whatever your goal is, move the decimal point 3 places to the left, and that's your hourly rate. If your goal was $50,000, what would your hourly rate be? $50. If your goal was $250,000, what would your hourly rate be? So right now, write down your hourly rate. Now, your goal of the mental bank, you're going to pay yourself for value events. We'll still discuss what those are. An hourly rate for doing the things that lead you towards your goal. You okay? Okay. Hourly rate for doing the things that lead you towards your goal. What you want to try and accumulate is 4 times whatever your goal is in your mental bank account. Okay, so 4 times whatever your goal is. If in reality you make $50,000, what's your mental bank goal? $100,000. What's your hourly rate? $100 per hour. And by paying yourself $100 per hour to do these quote-unquote value events, you're trying to accumulate $400,000 in your account. When you have $400,000 in your mental bank account, we estimate that you will then be earning $100,000 a year in real life. Now there's a couple little twists that I haven't disclosed yet, but let's just take it one step at a time. So you have a mental bank, you have a reality income, you have a mental bank goal. Your 4 times amount is called your mental bank balance, what you're trying to accumulate, and you're paying yourself an hourly rate. Does everyone have an identified hourly rate at this stage of the game? Let's see the hands of everyone. Anyone who doesn't have an hourly rate, tell us your question about it, and let's help you find an hourly rate. If you do you have an hourly rate there in the back? Not yet. She's calculating. A little bit of math, but not much. So everyone okay with the math so far? Okay. So the next step and the key to the mental bank thing is, 1, to set the proper mental bank goal. To set one that really is 2 times your reality income. Then the next key is to set value events that really move you forward. You don't get paid for wishful thinking. You don't get paid for wanting. You don't get paid just for doing good deeds. You only get paid for the things that lead you towards your goal. Now, you have to decide what your goal is. Okay? Now, there's a couple ways to do this. One is you can set a strictly monetary or prosperity goal, which then all your value events would be geared towards that. Or you can set a more balanced goal, which is like how we sometimes encourage people to get started, where you kind of divide your value events among success, happiness, and prosperity. Yes?
So are you saying that what you're looking to get, your goal, isn't necessarily part of your contract, it's part of what's listed under your value events?
Well, your value events, this is all part of your contract. The value events are in your contract, meaning you're writing a contract with yourself to arrive at this goal, mental bank goal. And you're going to arrive there by doing these value events that you've identified. And here's how much you're going to pay yourself. It's very much like an employment contract. You hire someone, you say, here's my goal for hiring you. Here's the things I want you to do for me, and here's how much I'll pay you.
Because the contract doesn't say anything about anything that you want to get other than it just says, as of this date, this is your income, and it just has dollar values.
It says for the value events listed below. And that's where the value events determine what direction you're going. Okay? So let's start with our value events. And this is one of the most important parts, if not the most important part. So the most important value event is doing your mental bank. Because without doing your mental bank, what do you got? Nothing, right? Because you're not going to earn any money in your mental bank. So that's always the first one listed. And you're going to pay yourself your flat hourly rate. Now here's the thing. Some events lend themselves to hourly payments, and some events don't. Okay, doing your mental bank takes 2 minutes. You don't really want to pay yourself hourly for that, because it would be divided by 60 minutes. So we call that a flat rate event. So you would just pay yourself, the flat $100. If your rate was $100 per hour, you just pay yourself the flat $100 for doing your mental bank. So some events will identify as per hour events and some as flat rate events. Is everyone clear on that? Yeah. Okay. So the writing in your ledger is a flat rate event, $100. Now, what do you want to talk about first? Success, happiness, or prosperity?
Happiness.
All right, I want to do happiness first. All right, how about it's going to be different for each of you. So we're just going to throw out ideas so you can make some decisions. And on this sample page, I want you to write down some things. You're going to rewrite all this tonight, but this sample page is just to get an idea. So the first one you're going to put is doing the mental bank. And you're going to call it your hourly rate. So everyone got that on their sample page? The next one, let's do a couple happiness ones. What would bring you happiness in your life? How about quality time with your child? But before I say that, though, let me just emphasize that these can't be things that you already are automatic in your life. So you don't pay yourself for what's already automatic in your life. Pay yourself for something that moves you forward. Okay? When I found myself a single father with a 2-year-old in a little bachelor apartment, up until that time, from 17 years of age, I had been working till 10 o'clock at night, every night. I thought that was normal. And here at HMI, that's when our business was. That's when our school was operating. I grew up that way. So all of a sudden, I got handed this 2-year-old, on half the week. And someone said, figure it out, right? And I had to figure it out. And I would come home like at 4:30, 5 o'clock and pick up this kid from school and have this little kid. I had never been home at that time in my entire life. I didn't know what adults did before 10 o'clock at night. I certainly didn't know what they did with a 2-year-old. And so one of my value events at that time was spending time in the evening with this boy and trying to have a good time, trying to figure out what to do in life. And so those hours I paid myself for initially. Now, after some few years went by, I figured out how to live like that, and it became automatic in my life. So then it no longer is on my value event list. I'm being clear like that? Yes. I can't see. Before I had to force myself to go home and have a life. Now I have to force myself to stay home at work. Yeah, now I want to go home. Now I can't wait for 3:30 and from that phone call saying, pick me up, I'm done, pick me up. And I race over there and I pick them up and we have our life. Okay? But then it was a struggle. So it's on your list as long as you're struggling to achieve it. Exercising was a struggle until it became automatic. I joined a hockey team, and it was the first time in my life I'd ever been really on a team of any sort since early high school. And just going to practice and playing on the team, I paid myself for, because it made my life better. It helped me meet friends, it helped me have exercise, it gave me a mental break. Now, I've been playing for almost 10 years, I don't pay myself anymore, it's automatic. See, and that's just what I'm trying to say. Don't pay yourself for brushing your teeth or doing this. Yeah, it's good for your life, but only pay yourself for what you're struggling to achieve, not for what you've already got. So what else could be on your list? Well, for me, being on vacation is easy. Planning a vacation is the hard part. See, the whole thing about vacations for me is you got to plan it. And you know, when I grew up, my mother and stepfather never took a vacation. Never once the whole time I was growing up. Before she got remarried, we didn't do that, and then after, never. It just wasn't in our consciousness to do that. So now that I'm in a different lifestyle and a different income bracket, and I see that, you know, other families in our lifestyle are taking all these great vacations, and my kids are looking at me going, what's wrong with us? You know, how come we're not going to Bali and all these places that friends are going? So you have to buckle down and plan these things. So I pay myself for the planning of the vacation because I know that increases our happiness. Anything else that you could think of? How about date night with your partner? If it's not something that you're doing, that you need to do more of, that you need to put more work into, put it on your list. You're allowed to have, say, a couple of things, 2 to 3 things in this happiness category. Any questions about that? Come on, I've never had a class not ask questions about this. You guys are just so on top of it. All right.
Well, I have a question as far as you saying when you accumulate 4 times the amount of the what?
Of your goal.
So 4 times the amount of the goal,
right,
based on what we've written.
When you have a goal, let's say 100,000 is your goal. Mm-hmm. When you have 400,000 in your account.
That you can account for as far as value events.
400,000, you're going to pay yourself for the value events, and then your balance is going to go up and up and up. When you have 400,000 in your balance. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Say you pay yourself to exercise or to date your spouse or whatever.
Or to exercise your date. Either one.
However you want to work that.
Yeah.
So would you say pay yourself 100, whatever your
hourly rate? That's like an hourly thing. Although sex may not be an hourly thing. That may just be a flat rate.
Flat rate.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you word it.
Well, you mean on this list right here? No, just real blunt, just what it is. And by the way, it doesn't have to be so specific. It can be categories, you know. So because your value events may vary slightly, but they fall into this category. It doesn't have to be like you name it, everything you do exactly. Okay? I mean, like time with LJ, what I used to put. Well, that encompassed a lot of things, you know, quality time with LJ. And then it's up to me to decide if that fit into that category. Okay. All right. How about success? Now, this should be easy for you guys, right? You're all in this, kind of in this, going to school to accomplish the same thing. Okay. How about being in school, those hours? Now, how many of you drive like half hour or an hour to get here? A lot of you? Okay. How about that drive time? Isn't that work? Shouldn't you be paid for that? Okay, so that's on your value event. School, which includes drive time. Okay. How about study? Isn't that tough sometimes? Yep. Homework, study. That's it. How about reading? How many would really feel you need to read more than you do? Put it on your list. That's part of your success. Yes? Well, it depends. You know, reading can be on your happiness list, okay, or it can be on your success list, depending on what you're reading. And you know, reading is happiness. And there's nothing like having a book that you can't wait to get home to read. There's nothing like having a book that you just don't want to turn off the light at night. And you know, and sometimes those, you go a while in between finding those books. So if you're not doing that, if that's not part of your life, then I'd say it's a worthy happiness goal. Okay?
I'm not sure have to put something that moves you forward? Isn't driving something that's happening already?
Well, yes, but I mean, if you're driving to school to achieve a goal, to change your career, and I would say put that on your list. By the way, on the happiness thing, if you want to increase your spirituality, if going to a church is something you want to improve in your life, if meditating is something you want to improve in your life, exercise is another big area of happiness and health that, you know, that's a big thing you want to put on your list under that category as well. Going to the gym. And, you know, and there were times where in my life where I wanted to go to the gym and I wasn't going to the gym and I paid myself for it, and then it became a habit and then it went off the list. And then at some point I stopped going to the gym, and then to go back was a struggle again. It can come back on the list. This list is evolving. It's not stuck.
Does that have to be actually on your list of value events in order for you to use them in your ledger, or can you just use them in your ledger?
You should put them on your contract. You can always add things to your contract or take things off your contract. It is an evolving piece of work. Just like if you have an employee, you can always take things off their to-do list and put things on their to-do list. You know, we're going to adjust the direction. You know, I want you to stop doing that and put your energies over here. That's what we do with employees all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
So did you say regardless of what your hourly rate is, the $100 is a flat
No,
rate?
no. The flat rate is just whatever your hourly rate is.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be different for each person. Yes. Yes, real loud.
If the task is more difficult, can you make it worth more?
Yes, but we're going to talk about that. You're allowed to have a couple bonus events. So after we get our list, we're going to go back and look at it and say, which are either the toughest ones, the ones I'm resisting the most, or what is the most important ones? What is the ones that propel me a lot further than the other ones? All value events are not equal. Okay? So then, but we'll come back and assign bonus events. Yes?
I just noticed that these 3 sample flat rates are double the hourly rate.
Just because they have listed, well, no, the hourly. Let's come back to bonus events. Okay. They're all their hourly rate unless we label them as a bonus event. All right, let's talk about prosperity a little bit. How many of you have jobs or have work? Yeah? It doesn't have to be your dream job. Okay? You have to work to create cash flow to live your life. Pay yourself for your work, even if you don't like the work, even if it's not what you want to do. Pay yourself for the hours you're at work. Okay, so put that down on your list. Work. Yes, sir.
Or even if you're looking for it.
Even looking for work, yes, is interviewing and going through the paper. And absolutely. Now let's say on your prosperity list, like for you, in a matter of months, you're going to be starting your internships and you're going to be building your private practices. So advertising would be on your prosperity list. Networking groups, marketing, which include doing lectures or just talking to people. So let's say you go to an event. Let's say you go to a networking event, and it could be like the Chamber of Commerce, or you just go to meet a group of people that you haven't met before, and you talk about your business. Those hours count, and pay yourself for that time. Value it in your mental bank. Of course, seeing clients, meeting with people, and doing therapy, that's going to be a value event for you. Now, what if you have investments and you have to check up on them? You have to go look, let's say you look at property. Let's say you go meet with someone about an idea. Let's say you explore an opportunity. Those are value events that you'd call that. As well as doing taxes and doing all that other stuff. Those are all should be on your list under the prosperity level. So you have some under happiness, some under success, some under prosperity. Now we go back and we say, what are the toughest ones? What's the one we resist the most? And what's the one that propels us the most? And get those two bonus events, which just means double your hourly rate. You know what my bonus event is? My mental bank? Teaching you. And I'll tell you why. It's because it's the most enjoyable thing. So it doesn't have to be torture to be a bonus event. But I do put out the most energy doing this. It's a lot easier to be in my office and just bark. Right? But coming here, I have to be nice. I have to act friendly. I have to come out of my shell. Right? I should get paid for that. the other thing is, when I look at all the things that I do for this company, I feel this is the most valuable contribution that I make. So I pay myself double for these hours versus the other hours that I do. You should make sure you're doing the same for whatever your thing is. Okay? All right. So you got your list here. And again, this sample page, the purpose of this page is you're just practicing what you're going to do tonight. So you're writing it all out ahead of time so you know exactly what you're going to write tonight. Now, you only write your contract once. You may modify your value events, but you won't rewrite your contract until you reach your goal in reality income. And that's the time you'll rewrite this, do this process all over again. Once you actually reach 2 times your current income, then you'll rewrite this whole contract again. But until then, you only write it once. And when are you going to do that? Tonight. And what you're going to do is you're going to turn to the next page, which is this blank page. It's this sample page blank. And you're going to take what's on your sample page, you're going to write it in longhand. I, George Kappas, agree on this 27th day of March 2006 to rewrite my mental bank script. How are you going to write this? Longhand. To arrive at a yearly income of, and you write your mental bank goal. This amount will represent 25% of my mental bank balance, which will be 4 times that amount. I will arrive at this amount by paying myself a base amount, and then you write your hourly rate per hour for value events listed below, and you write out your value events and the rate for each one, noting which ones are double for your bonus event. And then at the bottom, you sign it. Why do you sign it? Because it's a contract. You don't sign that check, it's no good. You don't sign that contract, it's no value. And you sign it with your signature in longhand, and you date it, and you commit to that. Okay? And you only do that once. That is not the daily process of your mental bank. Okay? Then you'll turn to the next page, which will be 2 facing pages like this. And then after you write your contract this first night and you do your mental bank one time, on the subsequent days, you'll just do these 2 pages. So each one of these 2 facing pages, one says happenings and one says ledger, that's equal to 1 day, meaning 1 day should take up these 2 pages. So let's look at the first day of that, the first page of that, which would be the ledger page. You always do your ledger first. Okay? So again, I don't want to repeat myself, but I want to make sure I'm clear. The first night, you're going to write your contract out tonight. That's tonight. Write it out, sign it, and then go to the next page and do this. And then after that, you would just go straight to this ledger page. So tonight, let's just use the $100,000 goal as a sample. All of you have a different goal. All of you have a different hourly rate. All of you have different value events. In order to do this as a group, let's just use the 100,000 because it's easy to add and stuff. So the first thing you're going to write when you open your mental bank on the subsequent night is you're going to write your goal right up here on the right-hand side. This is one of the most important things of the whole process, is writing that goal, that whatever that goal is for you, writing that number in the right-hand corner. And I want you to think about it. Every time you do this, you're dropping a pebble in the bucket. Every time you write that number, you're sending that message through ideomotor response at the most vulnerable time of your day in a symbolic way to your subconscious mind on a daily basis, because you've come to believe that if you can change that signal, you will change the outcome. Well, your goal is to make this number a known instead of an unknown. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay? And it's amazing how this works. And I'm going to give you proof. I've proven to myself that just this one thing works. Because when you reach this goal, you're going to rewrite your contract and double your goal, right? So I've reached my goal a couple of times. And so you go to write that new number. And so you go to write that new number, and instead of writing 200, you go, holy moly, I wrote the wrong number. And for like months and months after I change my goal, I find I'm still writing the old number. What does that tell me? That number got in. See, it's like the Chinese water torture test, right? Right? Does 1 drop brainwash you? No. Does 2 drops? How many drops? A lot of drops. And all of a sudden you break down. You just keep dropping that in and dropping that in night after night after night after night. And before you know it, it starts to accept it. And once it accepts it, you don't know why. You certainly don't deserve it. You're not doing anything better, different, or worse. It's just happening. That's a spiritual concept that accompanies the mental bank. So you write your goal up here in the thing, and you go ahead and write your date. And then what's the first thing you pay yourself for? Now I do it just by writing MB, mental bank. Now, according to this sample, it's $100 per hour. Number of hours. In the book, it has you write P/E for per event. I use a little star whenever it's a per event or flat rate. So what's my deposit? $100. That was easy. Okay. Did you go to the gym today?
Yes.
Very convincing. Well, obviously you're having some struggle, so maybe that's your bonus event. And you spent 1 hour, so that's, everyone follow me? $200 bonus, 1 hour equals 200. Then you go to work, $100 sample, let's say 8 hours, $800 deposit. Oh, you went to school tonight, learn mental bank. So however you want to identify that, you could say it's HMI or school. So 100. Did you drive an hour to get here? Yeah. You can drive an hour to get home? Yeah. So what is that, 5 hours for you guys? Anything else? Any quality time? No, probably not tonight. All right, so what does it come out to? $1,600. How many of you are earning that on a daily basis now? See, we want to make that an okay thing. It's okay that you don't identify with it right now. It's okay you don't believe it. It's okay it seems ridiculous. That's just your thinking. There are a lot of people that earn a lot more than that. That'd be a bad day for a lot of people in this country. So it's all relative. Let this number drop in, and it's going to mix with what you really did earn tonight, and what you're going to come out is somewhere in the middle. Yep.
So do you want to go throughout the day and write all this stuff down, or just right before you go to sleep?
Just right, just not 30 minutes. Just going to sort of summarize the day. In the first night, you're going to, it's going to take a little bit more than 5 minutes. Take my word, it gets down to be about a 2-minute deal. Okay? Yep.
So you don't need to write in longhand the 100,000. You can just actually.
We're getting there. We're getting there. So there, no, just right. So there it is, $1,600, and then on the first night, you're not going to have any money in your account, are you? No. But after that, you are. Okay? So your first thing to write as, you're going to write your balance forward. What is your current balance? Now, right now, what is it? 1,600. Oh, it's 0. Balance forward, I'm sorry. But the next night, what is it going to be? 16. Okay, so will it confuse you? Well, let's just say 0. So then you're going to say deposit. What's your deposit? 1,600. And then your new balance? 1,600. And now, in longhand, you're going to write out the following sentence. I'm going to have to, I didn't leave myself a lot of room. As of this date, I have earned and accumulated a mental bank balance of $1,600. Just like a check, we're going to write it both digitally here and longhand here. And then what do we need for that check to be good? Sign it. Boom. You're done with your ledger for that day. Now the next day you do it, what's your balance forward going to be? 1,600. Then you'd add your deposit, and this is your balance is going to go up and up and up and up, and you're going to be, you're really going to get in a habit of depositing thousands of dollars into an account that has hundreds of thousands of dollars into it, and that's just going to become an everyday occurrence for you, tied into things that you really did that day. We're fusing fantasy and reality as much as possible. That's the genius of this thing. It really fuses it together. But we're going to add one more little twist. And because of your limited mind script at the moment, you're going to have a hard time with it. You're not going to like this one. You ready? Any money that you receive in real life, any income from any source, gets subtracted from your balance. So you're going to have your deposit, and then you're going to write reality income, and then you're going to subtract whatever that is. And that's going to be, so then your deposit would be $800 instead of $1,600. I don't care where the money comes from. I don't care if you find it. I don't care if it comes in a bank return. I don't care if it comes from passive income. Someone gives it to you. You receive a birthday check. Any reality income gets subtracted. Now, there are some people that resist this. Oh, they don't want to take anything away. They don't mind depositing, but God forbid they should subtract something from their mental bank. Okay? Why is it that people don't want to subtract from their mental bank? Because they don't accept the fact that they're always going to have more. See, the only reason you resist subtracting is if you have sort of a scarcity mentality, that more isn't coming. We want to desensitize you from adding and subtracting. You should feel no differently about adding as you do subtracting. And over time, that's how it'll be. It's going to take a while for you to get to that point. But when you feel absolutely no emotional attachment to adding versus subtracting or subtracting versus adding, that's when things are going to start happening for you. See, when you subtract, any money you receive, that's a draw on your mental bank goal. See, you put money in your mental bank, but you got to live. What good would a business be if you never took any money for yourself? Okay? So any monies you receive in real life is your mental bank delivering to you. Subtract it happily. The more money you subtract, the better off you're living. People that have the script of making money don't think that much about spending it when they want to, because they know more is coming. They make money to spend the money because they have a healthy relationship. Do you know that if you're gambling and it's not your money, you're luckier? Because you're not afraid of losing it. You know? You don't have that attachment to it. So you're going to subtract your reality income. Yes?
Okay, two questions. One is if you own a business and obviously you have employees, you're going to put in your gross amount that the business made that day?
No, you're not going to put in your gross amount because I'm talking about monies that you take out of the business.
Oh, okay, so not necessarily.
No, it's what draw did you take? What did you take? That's what you're subtracting. Okay, so you could have a business that grosses $1 million and has expenses of $1.1 million. Right. You're not drawing, that's not a good situation.
Okay. Now the other thing is, let's say we did have $1,600 tonight. We have $1,600. We're still starting tonight at zero and adding the $1,600 deposit in tomorrow's?
No, that's just an example. You have a zero amount in your account tonight. So let's say you add your amount. That's
right.
your.
So that's your deposit, $1,600
right.
for today.
Right.
Okay.
The balance forward is you just turn back one page and you see where did I leave off, and you bring that forward, just like a bank account. Yeah.
So what happens when, let's say, you sit coins and you start making money off of that? Because you're just getting, let's say, you get a check from a client. Do you sit every night and go deduct from how much your rent or your insurance or your tax bracket is or whatever it is, or do you just take it?
You don't want to do gross amounts. You would have to figure out, calculate a net profit on that independent business. Like, for example, I receive money from a variety of sources, so I have to look at, like, for example, daily may not be the thing for you. For me, I do quarterly. And I'll quarterly subtract income because I don't know what the income is till the end of the quarter. You may not know what the income is till the end of the month. But you got to look at what the income is, what your net income is versus expenses. All right, so that's what we're doing on a daily basis. We're writing our goal, the date, the mental bank, the value events, and then we turn to the next page in the book, the happenings section. And we just go right over there. So always we do our ledger first. Fill it out, get our balance, write it out, sign it, and then move over to the happening side where we just basically write our date. Mental bank happenings, that's a word, that's a new word. Everything that comes to you is the result of your subconscious mind. Your mental banks acknowledges that, and it reinforces all the positive things. You don't write negative things in your happening. We want to reinforce the positive things. Okay? So you're going to write down everything that your subconscious drew. You're going to take responsibility for it. You made it happen. Now here's how it goes for me. It may not go this way for you, but here's what happens. I go over there, I do my thing, I go over to the happening section, and I always start this way. Nothing good happened today. And so you start at whatever you can grasp, right? Well, no matter how small it is, you go, let's see, something, let's see, woke up. I guess there's something to be said for that. Oh, you know what? Now that I think about it, had great breakfast time with LJ and Colby. That's my son and dog. And we had we had a really good time. You know what? That's a blessing. That's a thing of privilege. You know, oh, that's right. Got email offer to do such and such. That's right. That was I don't know if it's going to happen, but it was a great offer. Oh, pretty girl winked at me at Whole Foods at lunch. Notice it's Whole Foods and not Taco Bell. Right? And then when I run out of space is when the big one hits me. Oh, that's right. Signed new publishing opportunity. And I'll always run out. The further I go, the bigger the things get, the more I remember. And that's what this is about. When you run out of space, you're done. Every once in a while, I'll think of one that's so big that I forgot that I'll cheat and go, put it here. But generally, when you run out of space, you're done. You move down to the bottom section. And this is a dual purpose section, this thing, investments and affirmations. Investments is an advanced function of Mental Bank. You're not allowed to use this section until you've been doing the Mental Bank for 1 year and have a good balance. Okay, so we're not going to touch that much. The book talks about it. It's an advanced process. What you're going to use this for is affirmations. You're going to write 2 affirmations a night. Write them exactly as you would give a hypnotic suggestion to your subject. Okay? Try one literal and one inferred. Try one specific and one generalized. Have specific goals. I'm going to get 2 new clients this month. Have generalized ones. I am achieving success, happiness, and prosperity. Stick with this, rotate every other day. Stick with the same one for 30 days. Play with it. And basically, you're giving a positive suggestion to yourself. So you put the date and you write one. Here's some ones over time. I am receiving cash and income from new and exciting sources. That's a good one. Nice generalized one. I am both giving and receiving intimate love. I am giving and receiving prosperity to all my friends. Okay? Those are ones that I like, as well as specific ones. We are meeting this goal. We are surpassing our expectations for enrollment this month. We are making new inroads on this and that. They try one specific and one generalized. Just think of it as you're dropping 2 hypnotic suggestions into your subconscious on a nightly basis, and close the book. Close the book. Now, as things start to happen, it's certainly not unheard of sometimes for you to receive large amounts of income, which is also called reality income. What happens to that reality income? It gets subtracted. That's okay. I have gone negative at times. Negative, meaning a negative balance. Nothing wrong with that. Very few successful people that haven't found themselves in that position at one time or another. It just means you're doing really, really well, and that you need to work harder to keep that account going. The more successful you become, the more you subtract, the more you have to do to keep your balance going. If you rise up and reach your 4 times amount too soon, it means you didn't pay yourself for the proper things. Or your goal wasn't prosperity driven. You know, and we'll address that at another time when you have strictly a weight loss goal or strictly a happiness goal. Then there's adjustments we make. Yes, sir?
These mental bank happenings and investments are daily?
Everything's daily, right. The investment, I'm saying you only do once a year. The affirmations are not once a year. After you've been, The affirmations, first you do your ledger, get your balance, and you move over here and do your happenings and your affirmations. 2 minutes, 2 to 3. Okay? Don't be afraid to subtract that reality income. Get comfortable with drawing on your mental bank balance. You know what? Don't underestimate what just doing this for 2 minutes every night does. It's dropping that pebble into the bucket. Your balance is, you're dealing with tens or 20 or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're depositing hundreds or thousands of dollars daily. You're subtracting. You're looking at you're looking at what money's coming in. You're acknowledging what's happening daily. You're giving yourself 2 positive suggestions. You're doing it in 2 minutes a night. You're doing it through idiomotor responsive handwriting, which can't be duplicated by anyone else. You're doing it in a symbolic language, numbers, and dollar signs. You're sending a message to your subconscious. You're doing it daily, and you're doing it during the most vulnerable period. Where does all that go? Hopefully into your precognitive dreams. And it says, where are you going to be 6 months from now? And it looks at all the data it has available. It looks at what you made in real life, but it's also looking at those numbers in mental bank. And chances are it's going to put those two together and you're going to come out somewhere in the middle. You have to really look at how things are changing too. It's not obvious always. It doesn't come in the obvious ways. I remember I set my goal once, and I had this, not once, but one of my previous goals. And, I had this thing where my parents both died within 60 days of each other. Oh, wow. And I received, some money. And so, of course, I had met my goal that year. But I thought, well, that doesn't count. I didn't really do anything. I didn't earn anything. It's not going to happen next year. And so I hesitated changing my goal. But next year came and weird things happened and I made it next year too. So then I went ahead and changed the goal. And then I sold a house for a lot more than I thought I was going to sell it for and inherited another house. And I thought, well, that's a fluke. That doesn't count. But you know what? The next year came and I made that next goal again and I changed the goal. And it doesn't, and then I had to start adding up all the different places I was receiving things to realize I had met my goal again. At first, if I just looked at my flat salary, I hadn't met the goal, but when I added in all the other sources and really had a CPA give me an honest thing of exactly how much money I received from all these different places, I had surpassed the goal again. And so then I had to raise the goal again. Yeah.
So are you saying that once you reach your goal in reality, you change it, or once you reach your goal in reality, you rewrite your contract. We estimate that'll be when you have 4 times that amount in your account, but not always. I have yet to reach 4 times that amount in my account. I've always reached my goal long before. And of course, when you do, you're subtracting all that in income. I've never reached 4 times that amount. But I only pay myself for things that actually move me forward. You will not do everything on your list every day. They're on your list in case you do them. Sometimes you may just do 1 or 2 things or 3 things. It can be very short. That's what you did that day. Pay yourself for it. If you miss a day, you don't get to make it up the next day. It's just lost. Don't miss a day. Every day that you don't put the pebble in, you take a pebble out. Because you tell yourself, I'm resisting success. And that resistance gets stronger. Every day you resist, the resistance gets stronger. Every day you beat it, it gets weaker. And sometimes I'll lay there and I'll be just about to fall asleep and I'll think, oh, I haven't done my mental bank. And I'll look over and I'll see it sitting right there. My first thought is, oh, I hate you. I hate you because I know it only takes 2 minutes and I have no one to blame but myself if I don't do it. And then, and I'll reach over and I'll say, you know what, as much as I don't want to do it, if I just do it, at least my resistance is not going to get stronger. I'm not going to lose this battle. I'm just going to do the 2 minutes and I'll lay there and have this little debate with myself. Just do the 2 minutes, get it over with. It's not a big deal. And you know what? It's okay. You have to say, 88% of me wants to stay the same. 88% of me likes my drama, likes my fear, likes feeling sorry for myself, likes not having. Poor me. I don't have what the next guy, but you know what? That's okay. That's the way we're wired.
And even when you feel that at its most, all you got to do is just do it. You can hate it the whole 2 minutes if you want. It doesn't matter. You put the pebble in, it goes in, it does the job. And then the really great part, I can't wait for you to reach your first goal and try and change your number in the right-hand corner. And like 3 or out of the or 4 times a week, you keep writing the old number. You know what that tells you? The old number is in there. It's stuck. And it's just a matter of time before the new number sticks too. And tonight is going to be the test. Everyone's going to sit here and tell me they're going to do it. Is there everyone going to do this? Are you ready to just take this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait to hear what happens. Because we all have our own personal hell inside. And it's called our life script. You know, and it delivers wonderful things to us. We have so many wonderful things in our life, but it's a whole package. And some of the pieces of that package aren't what we want. And all you got to do is decide what parts you want to change. Decide what behaviors actually change those things. Make them value events. Pay yourself for it. And use this process. This comes from a guy whose entire job was to figure out people's subconscious behavior. He did it 40 hours a week for more than 30 years, and this is the system that he came up with. And I'm telling you, it works. It takes 2 minutes. It costs very little to have one of these guys, and I just can't encourage you enough to do it, because if you can make it work for you, then you can turn around and make it work for others by teaching them this very same thing. Any questions before we close? All right. Thank you. Good night, and good luck.
Mental Bank, almost always people come to us and say, that is so simple, are you sure it works? I always tell them that any time that you have invented something, once it's found out, it is simple. You take the light bulb. The light bulb is a simple thing to create. We create thousands and millions of them, but it took years of energy to put it together to create the first one. Creating the mental bank was difficult. It took a long time. Now it is simple. We have made it simple. We made it simple so everybody can utilize and do the mental bank. In fact, simplicity is the clue to effectiveness.
I set a goal in my mental bank to buy a new motorcycle, buy a new Harley Davidson. And 6 months later, I walked into a dealership and threw down the payment in full, in cash, on the guy's table, and said, I want that bike. And he just said, okay, fine. And I got on the bike and rode away.
Anybody watching this should take a look at their life, see where they're at, what they would like to achieve, and Mental Bank is probably the most powerful tool that they could get their hands on to get the job done.
When you find something that you've been looking for a very long time, it's like going over a rainbow, and you're in hopes the whole time you go over it to find that goal. And that's what is given to me.